Hello everybody, I'm Jessica J. A lot of my friends and family know me as JJ, and today I'm going to show you how I get as many vegetables as possible into the Instant Pot to make a vegan style chili. My husband and I are making an effort to eat less meat, and this is one way that we do it. I have here all the ingredients that I'm going to use today, including some frozen tomatoes from my garden. Now, you could use canned tomatoes, no problem at all. You could use your favorite, whether they're crushed or diced. Talking about freezer, it is freaking -40 here today. So I'm pretty excited that I don't have to be outside and I can be here showing you how I make this delicious chili. So now some people scald their tomatoes and they peel off the skins. I don't bother because I don't have time for that. You could dice these too if you wanted ahead of time, but I don't bother. So they're just gonna go in. And also I have dried beans. I have rinsed these. Some people soak their beans. I do when I have time if I actually plan ahead, but a lot of times I'm really bad for not planning ahead, so I just give them a good rinse, and they soaked for maybe half an hour while they were waiting for me to get the rest of the ingredients together. And these ones are dried pinto and dried chickpeas. And there are a total of 2 cups of dried beans here. And go right in an Instant Pot, just like that. And what else can I tell you about those beans? You could put any of your favorite type of dried beans, but I like to put the types together that usually have a similar amount of cooking time. But I do have some small red lentils that I'm going to add in at the end because they literally only take 2 minutes to cook. And what these do is act as a thickener, and they give it a nice texture that is a lot like hamburger. So I'm just going to dice up some celery. Like I said, this is going to be an exercise in seeing how much vegetables we can get in, because one thing we're trying to do is just eat more vegetables in general. So I wanted to show you too, I bought some mushrooms this week, and some of you may already know this, others may not, but when you're looking for mushrooms that are fresh, the ones that stay together from the stem to the cap are the fresher mushrooms. Once they start separating, once the stem starts separating away from the cap like that, that means your mushroom isn't near as fresh. And that's a little tip for helping you when you're buying them. So I was thinking about yesterday and how I was talking about artificial sweeteners being controversial. And then I thought, oh my goodness, like, talk about a first world problem, hey? But it seems like everything is controversial these days, even when it comes to nutrition and the best way to eat. And there's something I've noticed with a lot of different people I know that have been trying all different types of diets, and myself included, because I've had some poor health for quite some time, and so I've tried quite a few different ways of eating. And one thing I really noticed is it doesn't matter if it's vegan, if it's paleo, if it's keto, a lot of people are feeling better. And I think one of the reasons is because they're dropping processed foods and just eating more vegetables in general. Even when people do a paid program that's planned out for them, like even some of those paid programs have pre-packaged foods you buy to complement the program. I've noticed even those programs have specific instructions every day to make sure that with each meal or protein bar they have you eat or whatever, that you also eat a certain amount of vegetables, usually low carb vegetables. And people lose weight and they feel better. And I think whatever we can do to get more vegetables in our diet every day, the better. And not everybody loves vegetables. I understand that. There's even studies that show that some people have a genetic tendency to find certain vegetables bitter. So if your child is crying because he says he hates his vegetables, you know what? He might have that gene where the vegetables actually taste totally gross to them. So you've got to keep that in mind and work around things and do the best that you can. So these are some frozen peppers from the garden. I'm gonna throw them in too. But I have this parsley that we bought that I'm probably not going to eat all of it just fresh like that. So I'm going to throw some in. Anything you can throw in, just throw it in. If you have some leftover kale that maybe is getting a little bit old, but it's not rotten yet, or spinach or anything, just throw it on in there. I'm going to put in a little bit of carrots. And all we need to do is make sure we have enough room to go up to about the half mark with water on the Instant Pot. Because we will need some room for those beans to expand. And if you put water all the way up to the 3/4 mark, I'm kind of afraid that's going to be a little too full for your Instant Pot to handle. So throw your beans in there, your vegetables in there, your spices in there, and then put as much water as you can fit in up to the half mark. So we're going to put some carrots, and it's so easy to make this. Like, I'm actually being kind of slow, and I apologize, because I just enjoy chatting at the same time. So it's kind of like having coffee with someone this afternoon. So another thing that is sort of a first world problem, aside from worrying about what's the best way to eat, is just in general, I've noticed, and this isn't everyone, of course, this is a generalization, and I'm sorry I'm making a generalization, people, but in general, I'm noticing a trend towards people having an aversion or a hate on, or having to take the time to cook for themselves. And I was thinking about that last night and how unfortunate it is in a way, because honestly, a lot of us go through our day thinking this time that we have to take to make our meal is taking away from socializing, it's taking away from work we could be doing, it's taking away from relaxing that we could be doing, and we sort of feel hard done by when we have to cook. And I know not everyone loves cooking, and you might think I love cooking. I actually am not a huge fan of cooking. I actually like eating. So that is why I spend time doing it. But, you know, when you think about it, there is really no way, there's nothing more you can do in life to love yourself more than to cook for yourself and to cook real foods for yourself. It's going to make a huge difference in your health and even your mental well-being if you don't feel hard done by you're having to do it all the time. And instead think of it as a blessing, I guess. We live in this first world where we have all the access to these foods, and instead of making ourselves feel terrible about it, that what a chore this is, instead think of it as an act of loving yourself. Even going to the gym. You can go to the gym and go to the gym and go to the gym, but there are so many studies that show that if you don't eat well, you can't exercise that shit off. And it's true. I think it's true anyways. But so think of it as an act of loving yourself, and even loving the rest of your family or whoever else you can cook for. But even if you live alone, that's okay if you have to cook. So I've got all the vegetables in here now, and I'll just tip it over and show you. This is it's full to the top, but there's lots of space in here. The tomatoes, I know there's a lot of space around them because they were frozen. Same with the peppers, and they're gonna sink down when they cook. So this isn't too full, but now we're gonna put the water in. And don't forget the water when you cook in an Instant Pot, because it's basically a big pressure cooker and it's gonna cook with steam inside. But if you don't have enough water with whatever you make in an Instant Pot, things are going to scald and burn. So I'm just gonna measure about how much water I put in here so I can give you an idea. And now, depending what you were making, you would only have to put a little bit of water. I shouldn't do that with the knife, it could slip and I could cut myself. Let's see here, where's the markings? Oh yeah. Okay, so we're going to try and fill up with water to the half mark. So maybe we don't even have to. We've got a good 6 or 7 cups of water in here now. Oh yeah, there we go. It's coming up. It's just underneath the half mark right now. Beans absorb a lot of water when they're cooking. It's surprising, and they actually puff up in size. They puff up quite a bit. All the vegetables are going to cook down quite a bit, and the beans will do the opposite, they puff up. So you can put some salt, and some people are really watching their salt, so just put a little. The red lentils will be at the end once I vent off the chili. Now this is the time you also add your spices. So you can put some chili powder. And I put quite a lot. 2, 3 heaping teaspoons at least. I really like chili with also curry in it. Not everybody likes that. And I remember the first time I had it, I was not a fan. And so maybe a person needs to develop a taste for that. But if you'd like, you can start trying different spices to change up your life a little. So let's put 1 teaspoon of curry powder in there as well. And that's optional, of course. And if you like hot spices, you could, this is where you could put in a teaspoon of hot red chili pepper flakes or something. I don't want to make the chili hot, but so 1 teaspoon of curry. You could also use a little bit of celery seed or celery salt for some flavor. If you use the celery salt, just put a little, because celery salt is really, I know it's salt, but it's super high in sodium. It's shocking, really. So I like to use the celery seeds instead. And you know, I just put a little, because too many can take over the whole flavor of your chili. And sometimes even something like a little bit of dry mustard can really add a zip to some of your cooking and food. For example, coleslaws or salad dressings. Dry mustard's delicious. I'm going to just put a little bit of that in there. That wasn't even half a teaspoon. And you can also put quite a lot of fresh garlic if you're a garlic fan. And you know, talking about first world problems, another one we have these days is the really high cost of everything. And I saw online recently an article, some people talking about the new Canadian food guide and how they felt it was marginalizing some poorer Canadians, because they felt like that poor Canadians don't have access to all these fresh fruits and vegetables, which, you know, in certain parts of Canada that is a huge problem. In the north, there are communities that have to get all their fruits and vegetables flown in, and that very much is a concern. Someone like me who lives in central Saskatchewan, though, like, we have a lot of fresh fruits and vegetables at the grocery store, and granted they are expensive, but you know, when you make a chili like this without meat, how much meat would you put in a chili this big? Like, this is a huge one. This is an 8-liter pot. I'm thinking I would have put probably at least 3 pounds of hamburger, which would cost probably at minimum $15. This chili has no meat, so I can take that $15 and buy some celery, a little bit of carrots, and you know, I didn't put very many. I only put, did I even put 5 mushrooms? And dried beans are cheap. They're inexpensive as can be. So in a way, you can still make this really delicious chili, and it's not going to be that expensive, especially when you consider how many meals you're going to get out of this. Now, there's just Brent and I in this family right now. So this is pretty much a a batch cooking thing. And I'm gonna freeze a lot of this. And I bet you I could freeze and have 10 lunches for Brent out of here, maybe. I guess once I package them all up, I'm gonna let you know how many lunches this makes. I'll put it in the comments. And but there are things you can do to save money. Like say you can't afford fresh garlic. Sometimes it's pretty expensive when you think about it. You could just buy no neem garlic powder. You could put more beans and go for the seasonal vegetables. Or if you could grow a garden too. Now, not everyone can grow a garden. But another thing you can do is grow your own bean sprouts. Maybe I'll do a video about bean sprouts because I used to grow a lot of bean sprouts. So I love garlic. So we're putting lots in there. You'll be surprised. It's not going to make the whole chili taste just like garlic, but when you have that many garden tomatoes in there and just beans, you're going to need some flavor. And so I'm going to squish this garlic in there. I'm going to turn on the Instant Pot, and then I will come back in a little bit and show you the stage where we'll add the red lentils in. Okay, so I'll just show you one last time. There's the chili. I don't even stir it. I'm just gonna throw the lid on. The Instant Pot is so handy. And now another thing too is make sure to remember to close this vent. It goes over all the way to where it says ceiling. Okay, so let's turn this on, where you can put it on the bean setting. And dried chickpeas take at least 40 minutes. Same with dried pinto beans. I'm just gonna put it for an hour and we're gonna see how that does. I think it'll be fine. And I'd like to make sure the beans are cooked. I'm not sure if the frozen vegetables makes a difference. And if you are doing this with tomatoes that were not frozen, I'm pretty sure if you put it for 45 minutes or 50 minutes with dried chickpeas or pinto beans, you're going to be completely fine because they only take about 40 minutes. Hi everybody. So I am venting off the Instant Pot. As you can see, it says low 34, which means the chili's been done for actually 34 minutes, but I was busy with something else. And so once the chili finished, it starts counting up the minutes, how long since it's been done, and that's what that means. I'm venting it off. Pretty soon the little button will drop down. That means we can open the lid, and we're gonna add some red lentils. Now my guess is when we open this chili, it's gonna be very, very watery because we added a lot of water. If you're not wanting to put red lentils in your chili, you probably should use less water. And experiment with things. Change it, but don't give up on it completely. Same thing when you use your Instant Pot. It's a learning process, and every time I do it different because I think, oh, that didn't turn out too great. I had too much water, or not enough water, or not enough spices. So just keep experimenting. And when I first started out with the Instant Pot, I actually kept a notebook. And okay, so now this is vented off, and you just gently, carefully open the lid. And if your Instant Pot lid ever doesn't want it to lift off, do not force it. That is supposed to be like a common sense rule, I guess. So just be careful with the steam. And I'm going to move the camera so that you can see what this looks like right now. And even though it's been done for 34 minutes, it is still boiling. Now I had whole tomatoes in there, if you remember correctly. So see how they floated all to the top, and it does look quite liquidy, doesn't it? Okay, so I'm going to give it a stir. And see, right now would be a good time is if someone wanted to actually pick off the tomato skins. Like, there's no need to waste time ahead of time peeling your tomatoes. I mean, that is so much work. And there are only so many hours in a day, right? So you have to pick and choose your battles when you're cooking in the kitchen. And that's what I do anyways. I mean, everyone likes to do things differently. So, but just so you know, it doesn't have to be like it is in the cookbooks. Cookbooks will say, blanch your tomatoes and peel them. No, you don't have to. This is evidence right here that you don't have to if you don't want to. Done. Now I've given it a stir, and I'm going to give you another look at what's happening. Those whole tomatoes have just dissipated down into nothing. That's why I didn't bother dicing them at the beginning either. I would just be wasting my time. So I'm going to grab the camera and give you a little looky-loo. Okay, so see how the whole tomatoes have just sort of cooked down into nothing. They're no longer big whole chunks, that's for sure. Now we're going to add the red lentils. Because who likes runny chili? Right now this would be a soup still. But you're going to put it back on sealing. And you're going to put it for 1 minute. One last little tip before we do that is if you put too many lentils and not enough water, it's going to burn. And if you ever get a burn message on your Instant Pot, just unplug it, vent it off, open the lid, and do not stir it. Just gently take everything out of the Instant Pot, either with using a ladle or pouring it off into another big pot, and the burnt stuff will stick on the bottom, and if you're lucky, the burnt flavor won't have gone through your whole soup or chili. It's happened to me before. Like I said, it's a learning process. We're back. So after a 1 minute cycle on bean setting in the Instant Pot, this is what the chili looks like now. So it has taken it to the next level with the lentils. Prior, it looked just like a soup. Now it looks like a chili. There's no hamburger in here, only vegetables and beans. It's not an overly red chili because of the garden tomatoes. Canned tomatoes would probably make this look a little bit more red. And if a person wants to bring a really red color to their chili, they can always add some paprika. Paprika pretty much has no flavor. It's mostly used for coloring. I might add some more chili powder, possibly once we taste it. We're going to go by how it tastes, and everybody's tastes are different. So doctor up your chili how you like, how you normally would doctor up a chili. And Brent actually likes putting some hot sauce on his too. So hope you enjoy. Thanks for watching.